Donkey Kong. Who doesn't recognize this internationally famous gaming icon? I've always enjoyed every level featuring this lovable ape. Let's look through some of his classic titles and see if we can find him. Huh, well I don't see him here. Nope, not here either. Well, I just can't find Donkey Kong anywhere.
Peter, isn't that Donkey Kong there?
Well, I don't see... Oh, you mean this guy? Yeah, I guess I can see the resemblance. After all, looks do run in the family. Greetings one all and everyone, welcome to the first episode of Peter's Corner, a show where I analyze common misconceptions and throw out some interesting facts along the way. Do you guys get it? It's Peter's Corner, and I'm in a corner. I'm in a corner. Today I'm going to be discussing one of the most famous apes in pop culture history.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Kong, the eighth wonder of the world!
Hold on, not that ape.
Disney's Mighty Joe Young.
Not that one either.
Donkey Kong.
That's the one. Donkey Kong was one of the first villains in video games, and an internationally recognized icon of the gaming industry. Released as the titular antagonist in an arcade game back in 1981, this franchise revolutionized the industry, as being one of the first video games to incorporate a story. It may not have been the most elaborate of stories, with a carpenter having to save his girlfriend from a giant ape, but it was still a story nonetheless. And yes, I said carpenter, not plumber. Mario wasn't deemed an official plumber until the release of the original Mario Bros. 2 years later. The classic Donkey Kong series saw the release of 3 arcade games for the main series, but then entered a standstill for quite some time. Until 1994 where, thanks to Nintendo's partnership with Rare, the Donkey Kong franchise was given a completely new look and storyline, with the release of Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo.
And here we finally get to see Donkey Kong as the protagonist, right?
Yes, this Donkey Kong. But this is in fact not the same Donkey Kong who had rivaled Mario in the original games. Now this is by no means shocking or recent news to those in the gaming community, but there are many people out there who are unaware that these two apes are different characters. And who could blame them? I mean, Nintendo tells us this guy's called Donkey Kong, and this guy's called Donkey Kong. He's a gorilla, he's a gorilla. Boom, same guy. When making Donkey Kong Country, Nintendo and Rare decided that if they were going to revamp the Donkey Kong franchise, it would be better suited to revamp the character as well, seeing as this well-dressed protagonist is marginally different from his villainous predecessor, and it would be better suited to create an entirely new character, albeit keeping the same name. But just because the franchise was given a new look, it doesn't mean this video game legend was simply cast aside, and is in fact still present in many Donkey Kong games to this day. If you were aware that these apes were different characters, then you probably also know what name Mario's first antagonist goes by now. The original Donkey Kong is none other than... Cranky Kong. That's right. By the time the SNES came around, Donkey Kong had ceased his barrel throwing and kidnapping to settle down and become the surly ape we all love today.
Oh, okay, so the modern Donkey Kong didn't make his first appearance until Donkey Kong Country.
Well, maybe, or maybe not.
What?
You see, it is well established that DK is related to Cranky, but there is some scrutiny over what that relation is. The most widely accepted canon is that Cranky Kong is DK's grandfather. This was the original canon in Donkey Kong Country, as made immediately evident by the game's manual. Because everybody read those things, right? Anyway, it is during this little written prologue to the story that we find a line stating, Donkey Kong groggily rolled over to see the familiar, wrinkled, white-bearded, grouchy face of his old granddad, Cranky Kong, peering down at him. It is also here that we see the first confirmation of Cranky's past as the original Donkey Kong, as it is very clearly stated in the following sentence that, in his heyday, Cranky was the original Donkey Kong who battled Mario in several of his own games. This is further hinted at in the opening scene of the game, where Cranky can be seen standing atop the same girders from the original game, and as the new Donkey Kong comes in, Cranky is pushed aside and the background changes to fit the style of the newer games. But here's where the confusion arises. In Donkey Kong Country, we're told that Cranky is DK's grandfather, but with the release of Donkey Kong 64, 5 years later, we're told a different story. Within the first few playable scenes of the game, when DK enters Cranky's lab, the old ape greets him by saying, "Well, if it isn't my lazy, good-for-nothing son." If we were to follow this canon, then the modern-day Donkey Kong would have also made an earlier appearance under a slightly different name. The first appearance of the original DK's son was in the 1982 arcade game Donkey Kong Jr., where the titular protagonist had to save his father from the now antagonist Mario. Oh, and if you're wondering who did the nasty with this stud of an ape, well, he has been canonically married to an ape known as Wrinkly Kong, who first appeared in Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest, where she managed the Kong College and would allow the player to save their game. But by the time she is seen in Donkey Kong 64, she is a ghost, so... whether you believe DK to be Cranky's son or his grandson, he has nonetheless become equally popular in his own right, introducing a new lore to the Donkey Kong universe. Now, Cranky Kong may have changed over the years, but he will still remain a vital video game icon. He's been around just as long as Mario has, and will always remain one of video games' most recognized villains. Although it's no wonder that Cranky Kong is so, well, cranky. This guy has been dropped from a construction site, trapped in a cage, had his head shoved in a beehive, married to one of the only Nintendo characters who officially died, then kicked aside to make way for a new generation.
No way, not again, that's it. You just got to stop.
Thank you everyone for joining me on the first episode of Peter's Corner. Let me know in the comments if there's any other common misconceptions you guys think I should cover. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. I gotta get a chair, this is terrible.